Are property values dropping in Knoxville, Tennessee? Are prices on the decline? Inventories on the rise? Well, I'm about to do a mid-year market update. So if you're someone who is considering a move to Knoxville, Tennessee, or you're considering selling your home in 2025, you do not want to miss this video. Stick around to the end because I think you're going to be surprised in what you see. My name is Todd Jewell, and this is the Living in Knoxville channel. Let's get to it. So if you are not new to this channel and you watch our channel regularly, you know that we do a market update every month, looking back at the previous month and predicting where we think things are going to go in the future. Well, I want to do one looking back at the previous 6 months through the end of June to kind of give you an idea of where things have gone in 2025 and where I think they're headed. The reason I think this is so important is because I know many of you across the country are seeing your market change. You're seeing some homes in some areas set much longer. I know through working with many of you that we've got quite a few people right now who want to move to Knoxville but are having a problem selling their home where they're at. So we do know that markets are changing across the country. What does that mean here locally for Knox County? Well, we're going to talk about that. And I want to make sure that we all are on the same page so that we know where this data comes from. I pull this straight from the MLS system. It is only for Knox County. We don't get outside of that, and it's only for single family residents. 2025 straight out of the East Tennessee Association of Realtors MLS system. Okay, so what are the numbers telling us? At the end, I'm going to summarize this, and you definitely want to stick around to the end because I think you're going to be a little surprised at what you hear is going on here in Knoxville. First of all, average days on market. Average days on market are not the best indicator of days on market, but we do use it. It's a common number you find on the internet and other areas, and other entities use that. So I want to make sure that I give you something to compare to. Our average days on market at the end of June are 37.6 days. Now, that's a little misleading, and we're going to talk about why here in just a second. To begin the year, it was 44.3. So we've seen that number drop from 44.3 in January all the way to 37.6 here at the end of June. Now, that is not all that unusual, honestly, because we're looking at midwinter and going to midsummer, which is the buying and selling season. So you would expect average days on market to drop. But the key there is just to see that our average days on market are just not in a consistent grow like they are in some parts of the country. The better indicator to me is median days on market. And the reason I say that, median days on market means 50% of the homes are selling above, 50% below, because Knoxville and Knox County is a very specialized market. So depending on who the buyer is and the school districts and the price of the home and those types of things, all those things go into play like they do in every market. But here in Knoxville, they can have a huge difference. We see parts of West Knoxville where if a home comes on in the mid-4s and it's move-in ready, it's going to sell the first weekend. We also see parts of Knoxville where if you can sell that same home in 30 days, it's been a successful listing and process for the agent and the seller. So it's very important that we look at these, and I'm going to break down some of those areas just to give you an idea here at the end of the video. So median days on market were 12. At the end of June, we started the year at 9. So that number has actually grown. That number contradicts directly what we see in average days on market. That's why I don't like average days on market. So what we're seeing is basically a increase in 3 days of homes selling that are sellable listings. The reason average days on market doesn't work is we have a lot of homes here in Knox County that are mispriced for the condition they're in, the location they're in. You know, they need renovated or updated, but the seller has decided they want completed prices just like it had already been updated. That's just not going to happen anymore. So what you're seeing is, yes, our homes are setting on market from a median standpoint about 3 days. So we're seeing that grow a little bit. That's the trend across the country. It's best for our buyers. It's better for our buyers, and it's still a seller's market. So if you're looking to sell, still good. Now, sold to original list price. I'm getting this question consistently. Got it yesterday on a Zoom. What percentage should we expect to pay of the list price? I'm going to tell you you're going to pay 97 to 100% of the list price. Okay. And it really depends on if you're asking for any other concessions, which may or may not be included in that. So here in Knoxville, at the end of June, the sold to original list price is 97.1%. To start the year was 96.1. 1, so it's stayed about the same. Obviously, it's a little lower in the winter because you have less buyers in the market. So a negotiating ability is still in the seller's favor. And the reason I say that is most of you, when you're moving here, if you're looking for a home, you're not looking for that misplaced home or that mispriced home that has been on the market for quite a while and they're willing to negotiate because they just had it so overpriced. You're looking for the home that hits the market and you go, wow, that's a really nice home. We've been looking at lots of them online. We know that's a great price. That home's going to sell quickly, and that's what's going to be the reality for most of my buyers and most of you watching this video if you're looking to relocate. Absorption rate. Absorption rate is a very important number. It is basically, when you break it down, how many months of inventory do we have on the market? And if we don't list anything else today, about how long is it going to take to get through the inventory we have at today's current sales rate? And that's 2.78 at the end of June. To begin the year, it was 2.09. We would love to see, as a buyer's agent, that number close to 4. And the reason I would like to see that is so that when you're coming here looking for homes, you don't just have to find a home that will work and that you can make work best, but you're able to choose between 3, 4, 5, 6 homes that all work well for you and find the one that the seller's willing to negotiate on a little bit, fits your situation, and that you love that home the best. So it will give our buyers more flexibility, and it will really return us between 3 or 4 months absorption rate to a more level, stable market and not just a seller's market. If you're looking to sell, this number tells you that the trend is working back to a normal market, so selling sooner is going to be better for you probably than selling later, because you're going to have a little less competition as inventory does continue to slowly and gradually grow. Active listings. This is a direct indicator of these next 3 numbers basically are what make up absorption rate. Active listings that are currently on the market, new listings that come on the market during the month, and sold listings and how many of them sold. Those 3 numbers are what really go into absorption rate. Active listings at the end of June were 1,689 active listings in the entire county. You see, that's not a lot of homes. For an entire county the size of Knox County, that's a very small amount of homes on the market. That number was 1,290 to begin the year, so we have seen an increase. We have new listings that hit the market in June of 877 homes were listed in June. That actually was down from May, 1,019 homes. That May was down from April, 1,039 homes. Those numbers, though, are up, which is the good thing, because to begin the year, we only had 646 homes listed in January, 654 in February, and that jumped up to 932 in March. Now, some of that's seasonal. We always see the least amount of homes over the winter, and then we hit the spring selling season. People call it into summer, and you see more people with their homes on the market, more buyers looking to buy, and so those numbers are going to grow. It would be fantastic if we were seeing numbers of new listings at 1,200 a month or so for the buyer. So I hope that number will continue to work its way up. You know, we are struggling with new listings because people are still handcuffed with those golden handcuff interest rates where you just don't want to give it up. So you reason out of selling the home right now. Rates are not going back to 3% or 4%. If that's what you're waiting on, you're going to wait a long time. I'm 55-year-old. It's only happened one time since I've been on this earth. I don't expect it to happen again anytime soon. It would be best for a seller or a buyer to go ahead and understand that this is a normal rate environment, actually still a pretty good rate environment. And yes, we may see a little bit of a decrease later in the year going into next year. I hope that's the case for all of our buyers, but I also hope we have more listings on the market at that time, because if not, it could push prices up. You can always refinance if it goes down. New listings we talked about, sold listings. There were 712 homes that sold in the month of June in all of Knox County. That's just not a lot when you think about it. That number was only 436 homes to begin the year in January. So we do see an increase. Once again, that's basically seasonal. That's really not any type of huge increase. That's sold listings. If we could get the number of active listings up that are actually sellable and not so mispriced, we could get that number up again, because the buyers are there. You guys are there looking to move. You know, I mean, we have a full board of people here that would buy a home today if we could find a home that they were looking for in their price range, and it should be doable. They're not unrealistic. Hopefully continue to increase as we see hopefully a little more inventory going into fall. Sold median price. Now, this is a big number, right? Because at the end of the day, how's this affecting sales prices? I do not use averages on sales price, only median price, meaning 50% above, 50% below. I'm going to give you some statistics and numbers here on a few different parts of Knoxville to show you why median sold price is so important, because so many parts of Knoxville are very different in how they're priced, and it will skew the averages depending on the mix of sales that month. So if we keep 50% above and below, we get a more realistic, even though it still jumps around more than it should, a more realistic number of what sales price is doing. Is it going up? Is it going down? So that number in June at the end of it was $410,000 was our median sales price in Knox County. That's up from $391,250 to begin the year in January. That is a 4.79% from January to the end of June price increase. Prices are not going down in Knox County. I've been telling people that for a long time. There's no reason they should when you look at all the numbers. Get out of people's opinion, get into data. Data tells you the truth. This is where you need to be. The numbers, if you hear people start talking about median income to median sales price of a home and why that means prices have to plummet to get back in line, they don't understand the market in Knoxville, Tennessee. They don't understand who's moving here. That's just not a good number to look at. Pricing is not going down, but it has leveled out to where it's a more stable, normal market, 4.79%. Now, how did that look if we take January to end of June 25 and we compare that to January to June of 24? Because I tell you in all these videos, you're looking for trends. Numbers can be manipulated to say anything you want them to if you just take a snapshot. So you have to look at trends. So in June of 24, the median sold price was $399,900. To begin January that year is $384,900. That means January to June 2024, homes went up 3.9%. So homes actually increased more. I think this is going to surprise many of you because where you're coming from, a lot of times that's not the case. And you listen, and all these experts get on TV and talk about home prices dropping. Not only are home prices up 4.8% from January to June this year, last year in that same time period, they were up 3.9%. So they not only have grown again, but they have grown at a greater rate. Pricing has a greater percentage than it did in 24. So pricing has actually accelerated when you compare those two 6 months and median sold price. I think that is a significant piece of data for you to know, and it tells me that if you're waiting to buy, quit waiting. It does not make sense. You know, I had a conversation with a client this week that their pricing out in Arizona, where they are, has dropped. So what they could get 6 months to a year ago and what they can get today for their home was stunningly less. I'm talking $40,000 to $50,000 on the $500,000 home. Big percentage. Do they wait, they said, or do we, because we want to be here so bad? No, sell the home because you're working in two directions. The problem that's being in Arizona where it's being overbuilt in those areas isn't going to solve itself while you're selling your home. Pricing is going to continue to go up here. You're losing in two directions. Sell the home, come here. If you have to finance $50,000 extra in mortgage this time, especially in a situation like they're in where they're going into retirement, it's not the end of the world, but go ahead and get here. Numbers do not lie. They're telling you the truth. Now, I also in this video, I've done something different. I have data here from certain areas of Knoxville, and I broke it down into Farragut, Hardin Valley, Carnes, the 37922 zip code, which is between Farragut and Ebenezer Road in West Knoxville, and then South Knox. And I did that because I want you to see the variation in median sales price and how few homes are selling in each one of those markets, so how pricing can be manipulated if you look at data too much. It's why I don't use these small numbers a lot, because they can jump around. So let's get into that real quickly. So the median sold price in Farragut at the end of June was $750,000. From January to June of this year, they have seen a price increase of 3.77%. Their absorption rate's 2.97, very normal. But in the entire zip code 37934 of Farragut, there were only 38 sold homes in the month of June. So you can see how, depending on what those 38 are made up of, it's such a small amount that you could very easily, that number could be skewed for median sold. Hardin Valley, let's compare. So if you jump across the interstate to the north, which is basically what you do when you get into Hardin Valley from Farragut, what does that mean? It means a significant drop in sales price. It means that this drop is to $557,450 as a median sold price. This is a great example right here to me of why it's very hard to look at these areas. There were only 64 sales over there, which is a lot more than Farragut because it's a growing area and there's a lot of new construction, a lot more homes for sale. So there were 64 sales. Their absorption rate is only 2.27, but they saw a 19.33% increase in pricing from January. Most people would go, wow, that's crazy. I can't believe it jumped 20%. But if you look at the chart, January, February, March, April, May, what you see is a chart that goes up and down, and it happened to be that January was a low number, meaning the mix was really low there in what sold, and it jumped way up in February and back down. So that's really not a good number, but the median sold price there is pretty reflective. It's just that January was really low. So if you just move a little bit to the north southeast of Hardin Valley, you get into Karnes, and that median sold price drops to $459. Big difference again. So we're getting a little more affordability into the mix. January to June, they saw a 4.73% increase in their pricing. The reason they see that is Karnes has been opened up by a new 4-lane. There's a lot of new construction. Developers are out there building new homes, new subdivisions. And so what we're seeing in that area is we are seeing an increase in pricing because more people are seeing it's more accessible to get out there. No longer just on the 2-lane roads. You now have a 4-lane, and it's much easier to get out to Karnes. There were 58 sales in Karnes, and that is the 37931 zip code that I pulled this on. Now, the 37922 zip code, that's if you get back on the south side of I-40, you go where Farragut ends, and you go up to Ebenezer Road. That median sold price is $655,000. Jumps back up less than Farragut. Most of those homes are going to be zoned for Bearden schools, very good schools, very good elementary schools, but still a little less of the Greenway system, but still very close to the water. Fantastic place to live. Here's the unique thing. It shows a 6.87% decrease in pricing from January to June. The reason is the 655 median sold price is actually very low for that zip code that month. Most months, if you look at that, are about 700 to 705,000. So it's usually high 6s to very low 7s, but we just happened to catch a month that I pulled this data on to end of June where the mix of sales was such that we had more homes sell that were a little less expensive in that zip code because it covers a variety of homes. You know, there's multi-million-dollar homes on the water, Gettysview Country Club. There's lots of different things around that have high-end homes, and then you have a lot of homes that are in the 4s and things like that, and 3s where you can get into that zip code. So there's a mix. The last one I had in was South Knox. Many of you asked me about South Knox. I can pull a zip code on that, 37920. Just across the river from the university in downtown. It's a growing area. That median sold price, $359,900. So you see much more affordability. 57 sales over there, a 5.85% price growth year to date through June. So once again, the numbers are showing what we would expect to. What I want you to see is this wide variety. All of those areas that I have on here, from South Knox to Farragut, they're all great areas to live in. Just because pricing less doesn't mean they're not good areas. But I want you to see the variety. So all that's going into our numbers monthly in the county. And so depending on what you're looking for, it's the reason budget's so important. When we ask you what you're looking for, we can usually find that for you, but we need to know where to send you as far as areas to show you to make sure that we keep you in budget. People are relocating to East Tennessee. They're not coming just to save money. They're coming for a variety of reasons, which we do a lot of videos on our channel. If you haven't subscribed, you need to do so because you need to watch those videos. They're going to continue to come. What can slow that down? Why is our inventory growing? I was in this business back in the crash before. I've been through a lot of ups and downs. I have seen many times in my career where we have seen our area slow down a little bit with buyers, not because the area and they don't want to be here, is because they can't get their home sold where they are to move. We're starting to see a little bit of that. What that does is it actually is the best thing, in my opinion, that can happen for this area, even though I know it's very frustrating for you who are in that, because it does slow some of the migration down and allow our inventory to grow a little bit, pricing to kind of level out a little bit more so that we can get to a market that's more stable and easy to keep up with. And so I feel very good about our market for the rest of 2025. I hope you enjoyed this, mid-year market update. I know there's a lot of numbers that probably created more questions than answers for many of you. That's a reason to reach out to us so I can talk to you about these, go through them, answer your questions, watch our channel, watch our videos. We do lots of videos on things like this, as well as the market, the areas, and to help you move and not make any mistakes in that process if at all possible. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Comments are always welcome below. Until next time, guys, I can't wait to see you around Knoxville soon.